everyone. Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to remind you all about the health check that I offer. This is one-on-one coaching where we look at your systems and processes and see where we can make them better for you. For the rest of 2024, I have 5 positions left, and I would love to work with you to make sure that you are in the best position possible to start 2025. For any health checks that are booked in between now and the end of the year, I will extend them out from the normal 8 weeks to 12 weeks just to accommodate the holidays that I'll be taking and I hope that you are taking as well. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to ask, and you can follow the links in the show notes to book in a health check today. I'm really looking forward to working with you and making sure your systems and processes are working well.
And the good thing is when we've got multiple projects on at the same time, we might have 3 or 4, they're all in different phases. So that team member might be working on a very conceptual sort of creative thing on one project, but also doing some documenting on another project. So their day tasks are not sort of mundane, they are being mixed up with different roles. So I feel like they're quite happy with.
Yeah, I think they enjoy dancing between the different phases too, rather than being hired just to do the drafting or documenting. They enjoy being a part of it all.
Hi, I'm Beth Beesky, the founder of More Time to Design and your host of the Design Dialogues podcast. I've been a designer for the last 12 years and I've run my own studio for 5, and I know how hard it is to run a successful business. You not only need to be great at designing, but you need to be great at all the other things as well. I created More Time to Design, a software platform to help designers run efficient studios, and I've created the Design Dialogue podcast to help us all learn together. Each week, we will meet professionals who are at the top of their game doing things that help us run our studios. We'll have conversations with social media managers, interior design mentors, copywriters, stylists, photographers, suppliers, and also designers who have been in the game for a long time and who have such a wealth of knowledge to share. I hope that each week you feel inspired and informed at the end of each of our design dialogues. So join me for the Design Dialogue podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. This week I am joined by the design duo Leah and Fliss Pitman from Bone Made. Hello ladies, thank you for joining me.
Hi Beth, thanks for having us.
So I love to start all of my podcasts by finding out what you can see out your window today.
Well, we're actually recording from my home in Valgalla today. We're not in the studio, but it's looking pretty gloomy and overcast.
Yeah.
There's a big, beautiful tree in our front garden. And that's all really, not too exciting.
Very lovely. Yes, it's not the nicest spring day today, is it? It's not. It's the roller coaster of spring at the moment. So can you tell us a little bit about your studio and how you got started in your beautiful studio up on the Northern Beaches in Sydney?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you didn't know, Fliss and I are actually sister-in-laws. The same last name's a bit of a giveaway, but Fliss is married to my brother. So we've known each other for over 15 years. Yeah. And to be honest, we came from very, very humble beginnings. We were both on our own, I guess, like design journey. We both studied interior design. Were you working in the city?
I was working in the city in an architectural firm.
Yes.
About to have my first
Yes,
kid.
Yeah. Fliss was about to step into motherhood. And I found that I was working for a property styling business and sort of like fell into this role that it was like just not creatively challenging me at all. I was feeling really unmotivated and just had this sort of fire in my belly to do more and wanted to look at sort of doing something a bit more creative. So sorry, a little bit nervous all of a sudden.
But then you approached me. You said, let's get a wine. I literally was pregnant.
Yeah.
She was like, let's get a wine. We went to the local bar and she was like, so I've got this idea. I think we should kind of join our creative forces together and see where things go. And I was like, sounds awesome. Maybe let's wait for this baby to come first, and then
Yeah.
we can kind of jump on that.
Yeah, exactly. So then, we ended up just sort of having little monthly meetings and catch ups. Fliss had her first baby, Flynn, and it just started like evolving really, really organically. And we were like, are we going to do this? What does
this mean?
Yeah, what does this business venture look like?
And
we got,
always wanted to work for yourselves, or was it more that the creative itch wasn't being scratched and you thought this was the best way to do that?
Yeah, to be honest, I think my creative itch wasn't being scratched at all. And I think Fliss was kind of happy to potentially go back to.
Yeah, I was sitting on the fence. I was
Yeah.
like, I could happily go back working in the city at this architectural firm. My dad had his own business, and so I knew kind of the hard work that was involved with running a business, and I was a little bit unsure about jumping into that world. But with Leah's sort of guide and sort of fire that she had, I'm very trusting in Leah. I trust everything, all of her decisions. So I was happy to kind of, go with the flow and see where it did go. It would mean that we'd had a bit more flexibility, now that we were I was starting motherhood, and, being able to dictate our work days around young families was a lot more enticing than me working in the city and having to, catch a bus or a taxi home because I had a sick kid. So if I was able to work close to childcare, that was a lot more enticing. So,
And then we were like, okay, so how do we start? Like, how do we dive into this? And my beautiful parents, because we obviously didn't have any clients, we were like, we need some credibility. We need to work on something together. And my beautiful parents were like, well, why don't you guys? We need to redo our bathroom. We need to redo our bedroom and our home office. Do you want to work on this project for us? So we took that on, and that was our first project. And it ended up coming up really beautifully. And we were at the point where we were like, well, we need obviously need to have a website. We need a social presence. We need some content. So and Nat Sparta, who you obviously know and have interviewed previously, the Palmco, she's a good friend of ours. And I think for very much mates rates, she was like, how about I do some, like, create a website for you and take some photos for you as well. So we literally, bit of a funny story, but we hired a 3-ton truck, and we literally, approached like quite a few furniture suppliers in Sydney and drove around for the day, picking up lounges, coffee tables, rugs, artworks, you name it. This huge truck, two girls in this truck, picking everything up. And then we did one big shoot day. We photographed my parents' place, and then we went to the house that I was living at the time, and we actually styled 3 different looks. So we did like a luxe look, a contemporary look, I think like a tribal look or something. And from all different angles, Nat shot these different looks, and we all of a sudden had content, and we could create a website, and we were able to have some credibility as well. And that's how we started.
I love it. This is true faking it till you make it. Like,
absolutely. And Nat was she's still like such a big supporter of our business, but she pulled all of that together for us. And at least we just had something to show. And I think that's so important for people starting out. It's just getting that first project, whether you do it for free or that first opportunity. Like in this situation, it was my parents. And we obviously did that for free, and it was great practice to learn to work with each other as well.
Exactly. Kind of try and set up some processes for us as well, and how we're going to work together.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It was a good little guinea pig.
For sure. So,
and
that's
even
how it all
like just started. As you were saying about using your own home, which is, I'm guessing, wasn't like your ideal project at all. Like it was somewhere, and you just created looks within like the tight little spaces that like Nat could shoot. And it's kind of like, this is this beautiful image, but if you like went any further out from that, it would be chaos kind of
don't look behind the scenes.
You should have seen Like, honestly, like next to the actual like shot was just stuff everywhere. It was
Schmozzle.
chaos.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was such a chaotic day. We were so exhausted, but it was great because my old house sort of had like white walls, white floors. It was very much a blank canvas, and we just did a whole lot of moving around. And yeah, as you said, faking it till you make it. So,
And
yeah.
how are you juggling this with like, how old's your baby at this age?
Oh God, yeah. He was young. Basically he was born, and then 5 months in, we basically started the
Yeah.
business. That was like the right time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like starting a business and raising children, or in this case, just Flynn at the time, is super hard. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone if you had a choice, one or the other. But I went
Yeah,
all
I did
in.
the same thing. So I started, like, I had my first project when my son was 6 months old, and I was
Wow,
like,
yeah, you did the
this
same.
madness. Like, you kind of
Mm.
learn two very big skills at the same time, which is
For
hard.
sure. And
Yeah.
it's the first child, you really have no idea what you're doing. You're kind of going in blind.
Amazing they're all
Lots of
still
late
alive.
nights. Yeah, I know, seriously. Lots of late nights,
Mm.
tears going, is this worth it? But really, at the end of it, like we're coming up to 6-7 years now,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't regret anything we've done. It's more just it was really hard work, but it's paid off. And yeah, if you've got the passion and like the drive, I think, yeah, it's worth kind of putting all in if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, because we didn't pay ourselves for the first year, and we
No,
just
we
worked. Our
didn't.
office was my dining table.
If anything, we actually paid the business every week money so that there was money in a bank
Yeah.
account to pay for all of our subscriptions that we had, because we
Yeah.
didn't have paying clients. We're like,
Yeah.
we need money in a bank account. So we
Yeah.
paid the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, the early days of a business, like when you
Early
look
days.
back, you go, oh my God, like what on earth was I
Yes.
doing? But anyway, so how do you guys work? So you're obviously a duo, and it's very much, so quite often when there's a design kind of, there's two people at the top of a business, quite often there's like a creative director and then like the more kind of business director kind of one.
Yeah.
How do you guys balance that? And is it both creative and both business, or do you kind of lean into one side of the other?
Yeah, I think we're quite unique in the sense that we have very complementary skill sets to each other.
Mm.
And I think that's why we work so well together. And we're very respectful for each other's skill sets. We know the time involved for what we do, but we just sort of stick to our strengths. So we both focus on different parts of the business, and we both focus on different stages of the design process. So, like in short, Leah would be the creative one, and I'd be more like the technical sort of admin business side. So I think we're very sort of complementary in that sense. So like if you focus on the project, like Leah, like project side, Leah would be your concept design, your schematic design, your client liaising initially, sort of with the leads coming in, and all the finishes, the fixtures. She's very much sort of the big ideas, the vision, and sort of directing the look and the feel for the team moving forward. And whereas I, in the project phase, would be more sort of functionality of a floor plan, sort of spatial planning, nitty gritty of joinery, the documentation side. I sort of review all of the team's work, and then construction as well. I'm on one side and liaising with the builders and trades and the client. And then Leah kind of bookends it again with her styling, with the sourcing and furniture. So that's kind of like the project. It's very sort of separate, but we always collaborate together. We always have sort of team meetings and make sure that we're across every decision or design.
Yeah.
And then in the business side, we also like divide and conquer with that too. We don't sort of tread on each other's toes, where Leah's probably more like, well, she's not, she's more like everything under the marketing umbrella, Leah, which is a lot. And I don't want to do that. And she kind of doesn't want to do what I do. So we're happy to stick to our lanes and our strengths. But yeah, she's very much like marketing, business development. And I'd be sort of more like accounting, HR, I guess that sort of, I like the systems and processes, and I like kind of ticking things off, quite organized.
Yeah.
So yeah, we it's quite effortless when we work together. We've got very definitive roles.
We do.
We sort of CC each other on a lot of the emails so that we're across parts of the business, but we don't feel the need to kind of jump in and do each other's roles.
And is that something that you knew before, like when you started, you kind of knew where you like which role you'd take, or is it something that's kind of happened over time that you've kind of gone, actually, I hate marketing, but I love it, kind of thing, so let me do it? Like, has it kind of evolved?
Yeah, I think it just evolved really organically. Like we didn't,
Yeah.
when we started, like we obviously had no expectations of how this business venture together was going to go. We kind of thought it was just going to be a couple of random creative design projects together and that'd be it. We didn't have the expectation that it was going to be sort of this big and what it's grown to today. So I think it's just, really organically like evolved that way. And I've sort of fallen into more of the creative and the marketing, and I love that kind of thing. And same with business development. I love taking those sales calls and chatting to people and explaining what we do. Whereas that's like Fliss cannot stand that. She doesn't enjoy it, but like vice versa with some of the tasks that Fliss does. Like when we've been on and off mat leave, and we've had to obviously wear all the hats and take on everything to support the business. It's tough because we're taking on tasks that we don't normally do day to day, and it's like it probably takes us longer, and it's not as second nature as it would be for the other ones. So yeah, it's just kind of falling into place that way. I feel
really lucky.
Like the perfect thing. Like there's always parts of a business that you don't like. So like having someone else who likes it is the perfect. And it's quite often, we talk about this when you go to hire someone. So often people, when they take on their first staff member, they're like, I'm just going to hire another me. And it's like, well, that's the worst person you can hire, because then there's got two people who love doing documentation and no one that loves doing a concept design. You mentioned then that like you've kind of juggled maternity leave across both of you. How have you planned that out, like in terms of time? Like, I mean, obviously not the actual babies, but like juggling the studio and multiple children and leave, and how have you kind of managed that?
Yeah, it's been really tough, but because we are sister-in-laws, I think we're very respectful of each other's boundaries as well. We've always said when we started the business, we even had like a little sister contract. I don't know if you remember.
Oh my God, that's right. We had a sister
like
contract.
A little sister contract. And it was like, number one, family always comes first. So we're very respectful of that.
We are.
If there's sick kids, it's like, right, I've got to tap out, and the other one will just kind of take over for however long it needs to be. And it's always kind of works itself out in the wash. But yeah, like I had my first, then I had my second, then Leah's had her first, then I've had my third. And like with kids starting daycare, like they get sick, they start school, it's shorter hours, and then activities start. It's a constant juggle, but I think we're very open and communicative when we sort of go through this journey together. And I think we're quite blessed to have fallen into a business together. Like we're great business partners. We're best friends. We feel like sisters. It's great.
But yeah, we definitely wear a few hats in each other's lives, which is awesome. It's quite rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very, very cool. So you've talked about how you kind of got very defined roles in the business, but also in the project. And I have to say, I love the division of the project kind of thing, because I can just see how that works so neatly in terms of like projects going through the studio. It's kind of like, wow, like that's just ideal, like very envious of that. When it comes to like big business strategic decisions, kind of real big picture stuff, like where is the studio going to go in 5 years, 10 years kind of thing, how do you guys think about that? And as you said, like you've both got kids and juggling family and all that kind of stuff. How do you make sure that it's still working for both of you?
Yeah, we do try and have like little check-ins as much as we can, and like life gets in the way and everything, but just having these sort of like business meetings, like you were saying, where do we see the business going? We joke a lot that I'm like this helium balloon that floats up to the sky with these big, bold ideas, and Fliss has to like tug me back down to earth and be like, no, that's just not feasible, Leah. And we definitely
we need each other.
Yeah, we do.
I need a bit of Leah and she needs a bit of me. And we kind of meet in the middle.
We do. We sort of balance each other out. And then there's been times where I've sort of pushed us out of our comfort zone a little bit, and it may have felt really risky at the time, but it's been such a great
sure.
beneficial decision for our business. So yeah, we always have at the beginning of the year, we kind of like reflect on the year before, and we say like, what do we want to call in for this year? What's our strategies? Like what kind of projects do we want to land? And I think we've got really, really clear and concise on our target client, client market as well. We've built these sort of strong parameters around who our ideal client is, and if they're not the right fit for us, we just straight away politely decline, rather than taking it on and it's that little bit too small, or it's just not our ideal client, reflective of our brand or anything like that. So it's
listening to those red flags.
The red flags.
Yeah. With that, like, I mean, obviously, like that's kind of the dream really for any studio, to get to the point where you can turn away work kind of thing. And I think anyone who's been in business for like the length of time that you have or longer, you kind of actually realize that taking on those clients that are red flags, or they're not the right client, or they don't have a big enough budget, it actually takes more time and you end up losing money. Like it's never great. How have you gone about refining, working out who is your right client and what's the right budget and what's the kind of right scope? And at what point do you think you felt comfortable actually turning away work when it wasn't right?
Yeah. It's hard because you've got to think of cash flow too.
Yeah.
And it's scary as a business owner, making sure that you've got that cash flow coming in. But we did invest in a business coach, and I think that helped with us figuring out what our ideal client was and niching down. And that then set these parameters for us. Okay, well, if it's high-end residential design that we're aiming for, what are those clients and what would their budget be, and what sort of scope does that look like, and what are we comfortable investing in our time to make it worth our means. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of where we got to.
I think we've got a strong process now when initial clients reach out to us too. We have them fill out a website form where we're asking them what their budget is from the get-go. And if it's, too small, or, they just want to redesign a kitchen or something like that, it's obviously not going to sort of fall within our ideal project umbrella. So I think we've like making those little tweaks and changes even on our website. We straight away know like, okay, you're not the right fit for us, and we might refer to other designers who we know that might be a better fit.
Yeah. And is that something that as well, like when those inquiries coming in, and like you mentioned about cash flow, like it is kind of this ideal, like we're going to turn away clients kind of thing, but you do have to kind of think about, well, how are we going to pay people this week? Is it really like a kind of, do you come down and like look at every inquiry together, or is it more like, Leah, you're just handling it and it's like, no, it's not right. Like, how is that kind of conversation happening?
Yeah, correct. So we'll both get the lead like through emails, and I'll be able to sort of assess straight away whether it's like an ideal project. Sometimes if it's like borderline, I'll send it through to Fliss and be like, what do you think? And then Fliss will be like, okay, well, how's cash flow for the next month? But that's honestly what we have to assess. It's very much, as you know, like seasonal. Like sometimes we have these big inhales with cash flow, and then other times we have these big exhales. So we really just need to assess at the time, like where everything's at. We've obviously got a team that work for us now, and we've got overheads, we've got rent at our studio to pay, we've got subscriptions to pay for. So it really is assessing where everything's at that time, and our capacity, whether we've got the resources. And we sort of make a decision from there.
Yeah. And you mentioned you have a team. So tell me, how big is your team now?
Yeah. So there'll be 5 of us come Jan, won't there?
Will be, yeah.
So we've actually got our beautiful designer, Laura. She's on mat leave at the moment, and she's coming back. And then we've got Lauren and Nadia. And then Fliss and I. So very, very exciting that it'll be the biggest it's been come Jan.
Yeah, wow. And what was the driver for you guys to taking on team members and growing out that team?
Yeah, well, I guess flexibility for Leah and I. worked ourselves into the ground before, and mentally and physically, like, it's not it's worth it. You get sick, you get run down. We've also got to focus on our families as well. So, we've had a junior before, which was great at the time of growing the business. However, we've realized that we actually need more of a senior team behind us. The fact that we do have young kids, we're not in the studio constantly to be with a younger sort of design team. So having seniors behind us who are really competent in their work, and we can have complete trust in the work that's going out to clients or to builders, we kind of need that behind us at this point in time. So just like a really strong senior team.
That's really interesting that you I think that's a very mature way of looking at it all, because so often people are like, I'll get a junior in, like it's what I need kind of thing. But I think having that mindset, it's like, well, actually, what can I commit to the team member, and how can, like, what's going to be successful for them is really, it's very insightful. And how,
No, just with like, if you get someone more junior, like, it's great because you're paying a lesser rate to them, and you can give them sort of admin tasks to tick off. However, you do sort of have to be required to, like, mentor them a little bit and really triple check a lot of work that goes out, and it ends up being more time for you. You kind of go, I should have just done it myself. But what we've actually invested in a VA. So some of those admin tasks now we're able to offload onto them, which has been great for the both of us to kind of get that off our chests and our sort of to-do list, and just focus on the senior team. I think it's more worthwhile for us. I know it's more expenses at the end of the day, however, it's less headache, and we can kind of rest at night knowing that we don't have to pick up the phone and rectify something in the morning because it just kind of wasn't done to our standard.
And I think that's so, like, as working mums and working mums to small children, the kind of mental capacity to kind of mentor someone is kind of not there. Like, it's a lovely thing to have juniors in the team, but they are, like, it takes a lot of work to kind of get them to the level. And I think as well, like, as you said, that sense of peace of knowing I can hand this over and I'm not going to have to triple check it, and I'm not going to have to answer a whole heap of questions around it. It actually means your studio can grow and you can take on more work, kind of thing, which you need to do because you're paying a higher salary. But it's kind of like this, it's a very holistic way of thinking about how you're hiring. In terms of, like, so, we've talked about how you two have very divided or very clear kind of roles in a project. How does that work with your team? Do they kind of have, like, is there kind of like Leah's team and then Fliss's team, and, like, is it divided like that, or is it more that the staff members work across the whole project?
Yeah, everyone kind of works across the whole project. We're really, really lucky that our designers are, they're technical, they're creative, so they can literally slot into whatever phase of the project we're working on. It's quite effortless, really.
And they get to see a project from conception through to completion, and the way that like Leah and I are leading the project as well. They sort of have Leah initially with the lead, and then they kind of come through under me leading with more the documenting and the construction side of things. So the good thing is when we've got multiple projects on at the same time, we might have 3 or 4. They're all in different phases. So that team member might be working on a very conceptual sort of creative thing on one project, but also doing some documenting on another project. So their day tasks are not sort of mundane. They are being mixed up with different roles. So I feel like they're quite happy with.
I think they enjoy dancing between the different phases too, rather than being hired just to do the drafting or documenting. They enjoy being a part of it all, and we're so collaborative. Like, we have our little project reviews a few times a week, and constantly checking in with each other, and we're constantly engaging each other's feedback. Like, even though I sort of lead the creative side of it, I'm always like, Fliss, like, what do you think of this? Like, is this just not right? Like,
sometimes you need fresh eyes.
You do. You really do. You need that other perspective on your work as well. And works well. Yeah.
Sounds like a very collaborative, lovely little studio that you guys have. It sounds like this little interior design oasis. So you've talked a lot already, like you've mentioned it, and I think as two working mums with a growing studio and all the moving parts, you couldn't do what you do without this. Talk to me a little bit about systems and processes in your business, and what are some of the key things what are some of the key processes that you think have really improved the efficiency of your studio?
I think we've worked really hard over the last 6 years to kind of nail this. It's like a well-oiled machine. And I guess with my sort of organized, meticulous mindset, I'm quite kind of structured. So
Yeah.
at the beginning of every year, like Leah mentioned, we have like a bit of a strategy meeting, which kind of sets the tone and focus and intention for the year. Every Monday morning, Leah and I will have just a meeting, the two of us, and kind of have a little checklist, make sure that everything needs to be actioned to the suitable team member or delegated or respond to clients, so that we're kind of actioning what we need to. Leah also mentioned we have the weekly project meetings. But we also, I guess, like daily, we have a workbook that we write our, like, you know, to action to list today. We have that that we always try and like highlight and cross off. Feels good to tick that off the list.
Nothing better than highlighting something off your list.
So that's like
Really better even to like, even after you've done the item, write it in the book so you can then cross it off.
Exactly.
Like,
you get it.
There's a dopamine here.
I know.
Yeah.
We're really good at CCing each other in on emails as well. Not that the other person needs to respond, but just that we're across it.
Yeah.
We're really good at filing those emails, flagging anything that needs following up once you've sent an email as well, just like having it in your inbox so that you don't forget that we're waiting on a response from whoever you sent it to. What else? I guess our proposals are very thorough, and that's kind of like a bit of a checklist of deliverables that we need to action that the client can kind of follow along, but also for the team. So I think that's a really good kind of process for the team.
Even in like the investment into some of our programs and subscriptions that, you know, they're saving us so much time. Like,
and it sounds like you have a mixture of kind of like tech, but also old school pen and paper.
Yes, love pen and paper. I love sketching as well. I'm a bit sort of 2D on a plan, butter paper for spatial planning. But then we love kind of electronically getting to SketchUp and, you know, really modeling things up once we've put it in CAD. And it's a good mix of the two.
Definitely a blend of the two.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people overcomplicate this. They kind of go, oh, it's got to be all tech. And it's like, actually, you know what? A notebook is great. A notebook is great.
I've actually got better. I used to print everything out. I was so bad.
It used to drive me nuts. I was like, Fliss, like,
it's like print it out. So no, none of that anymore. We're a bit paperless.
Well, even just like the investment in an iPad that we take on site now, and it's like making tweaks on plans and things like that. Even just in our presentations, we'll be presenting, Fliss will be jotting down feedback. We used to just handwrite everything, and now it's just using that has been a game changer for us as well.
Look, I'm a bit of a printer, I must admit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get away from. But one thing that I would love to know, how did you guys come up with your studio name?
Good question. Well, I guess we didn't want anything, because we're obviously, we share the same last name. We didn't want it to be like Pitman Design or anything like that. We just wanted something sort of unique from who we are as people and be able to sort of separate the two. And we wanted two names, being the fact that we're a duo. And I remember we literally sat down one day with like a pen and paper and just like brainstormed. We were like, this and this, or what about this and this? And then finally we came to the word bone and the word made. And I guess the background of it is the fact that we are sisters. There's that family connection. So that sort of represents the word bone. And also our overall sort of design aesthetic, it's very sort of earthy and refined, and that sort of bone color comes into play a lot throughout our projects too. And then made represents the creating, the building, the foundations. So that's how it came together. It was
very fitting. We'll go to clients and we say like, oh, this home's got beautiful bones, you know.
So the name's really like, you know, it's really come to life kind of thing.
It has.
It definitely has. And
it's strong, it's unique, and people remember it because
they do.
It is different.
And we do get asked a lot, and we do sort of tell our little story behind it. But but yeah, we love it. It
Yeah.
hasn't, we absolutely love our name, and yeah.
Love that. Love it. So what are you guys looking forward to in the next 12 months in your business and studio?
Yeah, well, we've just, as you would have seen, we've just moved into a new studio in Manly on the Northern Beaches. We were in a kind of like a shared co-working space called The Ware in Brookvale for about 5 years, and that was great. It was, we just outgrew it. We just needed more space, and we always dreamt of a shop front studio. And when we would make our like little manifestation and vision boards back in the day, like we would always have, you know, like a beautiful sort of shop front space, and be like, oh, we would just love to work towards that one day. And so the studio sort of came into fruition a few months ago, and really like effortlessly sort of fell in our lap. So it was very much meant to be. So we did a quick little refurb on that. We moved in, and the next year we're just like going to enjoy sort of settling into the space, enjoying having the full team as well. And I guess continue to take on big sort of high-end residential projects. We want to take on less but bigger projects. So rather than having a whole handful of projects and clients at the one time, we just find that, you know, you end up spending just as much time with a client with a smaller scope and budget than you do with the bigger client or project. So we want to continue taking on new builds, collaborating with architects and draftsmen, so that's kind of like the next year for us.
Very exciting. Very exciting. It sounds like it just sounds like you're kind of like really kind of like hitting your straps and like off you go kind of thing. So yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today. I have loved chatting to you both and learning a bit more about your studio, and I'm so glad I finally know how you came about with your name, because I have always wondered.
Thank you so much for having us. It was really nice chatting.
Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.